Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Blue Water Draft League. I'm Not to Plays. With me, here's Noctisar, who's going to be out just for a little bit. So I'll be solo analyzing this draft. And then again, production is Wookie Monster. We're here in the draft. We see the standard Viego ban against Rigor Mortis of the Valkyries. Both teams here trying to cement a solid lead in the league. Both teams only have one loss. I believe 4 wins or 5 wins, and then 1 loss. So this is huge. As we do see more bands coming in, the Hui, the Gwen. It's been an exciting weekend. If everyone was watching the World Finals, I'm not sure how much of that will play into draft strategy here, but we'll have an exciting series on our hands tonight. We'll also see if the caster, the streamed blessing/curse continues, as we've had game threes across the board every single week. Without fail. I don't think that will be broken tonight, since these two teams are pretty much top tier. We have multiple players in these two teams in the top rankings. We do stats in the Blue Water Draft League with the rating system, and there are multiple players here. I think a player to note, the highest rated player is Wraith, I believe, in Valkyries. So that is, I guess, the player to watch and to focus on, as we do see the gamblers selecting Seraphine pretty much quickly. I guess that's the problem we're having here. We do see, again, rounding out the bands, Corki and Nocturne. I think Corki is an incredibly strong pick at the moment, can be flexed mid and ADC, although it is currently thriving more in the ADC spot. So not surprised there. Surprised that it was banned on blue side. So I'm guessing there's no one on the side of gamblers playing it at the moment. We do see Ari picked here. Very flexible option, can engage, can disengage, offer some flexibility in what it can do. Obviously the charm is great, and we see a Prow here in the jungle. I guess they're assuming that the Seraphine is being played mid and Jarvan is locked in. Both are very standard picks, very strong in the current meta. Jarvan just being a good engage tool. Coupled that with Sundered Sky and its general tankiness makes it a really big threat in the Rift. We'll see if how the gamblers respond. I'd assume they will pick an engaged jungler as well, as we do see the Xin Zhao hovered here with 2 seconds to go, and it is selected. I think that's also an amazing pick. And the Ashe pick, which I was thinking was going to be the B1 pick here. As anyone who was watching Worlds, Ashe was a very big prio pick. Surprised it went through the first round of picks for the Valkyries. So the Seraphine is locked into the support role. They wanted to prio the Ashe here. It didn't matter what they would pick on the other side, and then they would get the counters to Ari in round 2. As we do see, MF is selected on the side of Valkyries. I believe it is enabled playing on that side. No, sorry, Florgato playing for Valkyrie. So he'll be donning that champion. We'll see what the bans are going to be. I'm assuming some Ari counters might be in play, since top will have counter pick. But I guess even though with the counter pick, they believe the Cassante might be just a little too strong for them. And we do see the Braum ban being hovered, which I think is a good selection. The Ashe Era Seraphine ultimate as well. The Ashe Seraphine is pretty strong. I think Braum would be weak in the laning phase, if I'm not mistaken, but super strong mid to late. And we do see it banned here. We'll see if there is going to be a mid ban. I think particularly against Ari, I can see Syndra being picked into it. Galio, for the World's Finals. But I guess they're just going to focus on these top picks instead. Which is a little surprising. I think with the meta, if top has counter, kind of just give it away, you know? There's no reason to waste it on these top champs, but I guess they're comfortable with Wraith on Ari. Whoever the counter might be to the Ari, as you do see Soraka ban as well. 25 seconds left on the clock for the Valkyries here. I think they absolutely will pick their support here. They are lacking a little bit of disengage. They need something to kind of disrupt the Seraphine and Ashe. Jarvan will ult in. MF will be by herself. So I think some enchanter to be with the MF to kind of protect her, or an engage tool. But that will leave the MF a little susceptible depending on the gamblers' picks. Wow, they do end up picking the Ornn. I'm not sure if this is the Ornn support or the Ornn top, assuming the Ornn top here. But this is a great pick. You do need some tankiness, an engage tool as well. I think Jarvan works best as a second engage, so having the Ornn ultimate there is huge. Sylas being hovered. I think Sylas is also a great pick into Ahri. I think that's more of a skill matchup in my opinion. Ahri should go the grasp route, I'd assume. But I don't see it being picked for that build. At least not in this league. As we do see Sylas locked in. That's a very strong pick. Lots of engage tools there with the Sylas. Give some spacing for the Ashe. We do see Yone hovered and selected, I believe, for the top lane here. Yone, another big prio pick in Worlds, and I'd say the same here as well. So we'll see how they respond in kind. I mean, they had multiple times attempts to have top be able to be countered, and they're going for the R5 Karma, which is a very interesting pick. I think that's not too bad, considering both Sylas and Yone will engage really hard on the back line. Karma all to her, I mean, MF all to yourself. There's some slight disengage there with the Karma. Very interesting types of team comps on both sides. I think for the side of gamblers, a very chaotic team fight oriented comp, right? I think Xin Zhao, the Sylas, and the Yone will be engaging really hard. None of them really going to stay with Ashe and Seraphine. And so they're going to thrive in the chaos. They're going to look for fights in the chokeholds. They're going to look for fights in warded areas. So vision will be important for the Valkyries. Gamblers will focus on eliminating vision so that they kind of play into this chaos. Multiple avenues to fight. Ashe ultimate, Seraphine ultimate, Yone picks, and then as well as the Sylas stealing ults. I think particularly this Ornn ult. And now on the sides of Valkyries, more front to back, kind of focusing on the MF and Ahri to deal a lot of damage. I do think they like just a little bit of damage here. They kind of want extended team fights, which might be a little bit difficult considering on the other side we have a bit of a bulkier comp, and also a lot of healing that's going to come from the Seraphine and all the items that the gamblers will have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, what strategies they'll employ. I particularly want to see how these junglers path. I'd say there's going to be maybe a focus on the bot side for the side of Valkyries, just because Ornn can be left to his own devices. And I think because of that, the gamblers should be also focusing on the mid and bot as well. But we'll see. Again, both teams only have one loss, so a super pivotal match for us here tonight. And for right now, we'll cut to a short break as we load onto the Rift, and we'll be right back. Don't go away just yet.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Otter Draft League. We are in Game 1 for Gamblers versus the Valkyries. I am Noctisera. With me, as always, is Manatsu Plays and Wookie Monster as our observer.
Welcome
Yeah.
to Summoner's Rift.
Heading into draft, I was gonna say, I wasn't sure which mid laner gamblers were using. I know Flash is their primary mid laner, but
30
I was
seconds
looking
until
through the
minions
stats, and they
spawn.
had another mid laner who they are 4-0 with Blob Fish. So we'll see how well Flash does into, I'd say, arguably the best player in this game, which is Wraith. We do see Wraith going for the electrocute, not the grasp that I would have liked to have seen. And we'll see if we have a little late ward here on the top side.
Yeah, see Batman just trying to get some vision down, possibly. This is a very interesting setup. You could see Rigor Mortis now being jumped on. Nice slow there from Asian Jason, but nothing major coming out of it. Wraith, obviously, with Foxfire, but both teams still level 1 and not grouped up enough to actually finish anything, not with enough CC to actually lock anyone down too early. So I'm not going to do too much, but yeah, we've seen sort of an uptick in these engaged junglers as the league has gone on. When it started, we saw a lot of farming junglers. Players were still sort of getting the ropes down. Now that they have time with their teams, things have gone very well. Obviously, both these teams 4-1 right now, doing very, very well. And realizing that the engaged playstyle, going for more of these picks, wanting proactivity, is really very important.
Yeah, so we do see both junglers opting to go top side and then focusing their, I'd say, time on the bot side here. They're going to have maybe a level 3, level 4 skirmish. But for now, all things are peaceful. As we do see Wraith really using that range against the Silas.
Yeah, and thank God for it. We saw not that for a couple weeks where Arias were just sitting back, getting dominated in these melee matchups and doing no damage come late game. I would assume we don't see that from Wraith. Very good player. We've talked about this player a lot. Typically likes to be a very bully type mid laner, wants to push out their opponent, be out objectives first, rotate around the map. And to do that, you need to sort of starve them off of resources, which we can already see. Once the crash hits, obviously the South is going to get a bit more CS, but already 10 up at 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah, Flash had to burn both pots here, so that is the only usable HP he has. As another electrocute proc is coming out from Wraith. Important to note too here. I'm wondering, where was it? So we do see the cleanse coming from the Florigato, and then the barrier heal on the bot side for the gamblers. What I was gonna say was, top will probably be left on an island. If you do see an early engage here onto Wraith.
Yeah, Wraith getting ganked now, not even flashing. I mean, sorry, Flash not flashing. Doesn't need it. Asian Jason just goes in, follows the Wraith flash immediately, does not want to waste any time, landing a really nice knockup, and it's going to be Flash actually picking up first blood. That's going to help out a lot in this mid lane matchup. The Silas versus Ahri is very Ahri-sided in the early levels, but gets pretty even the later you go into the game, and using that early kill is going to mean that that's a much easier lane a lot earlier on. And speaking of, though, in the top side, Jason getting a lot of damage down on CB Batman, as Orin doesn't quite have the cooldowns to chase down the kill just yet, but CB Batman definitely does have to be careful.
Yeah, Jarvan, Rigor Mortis now on the chickens. I think knowing that Asian Jason had to kind of rush the mid to kind of equalize that lane, knows what camps were available and was able to successfully steal those camps away. Batman, even though he got chunked there just now, just teleported back into lane, full health. We'll see how much Dyson can poke out before he himself will teleport. Got a good chunk onto Batman. But yeah,
I mean, that's the benefit of Bjorn, right? Obviously, you do a lot more damage early on than tanks. You can trade back quite well. The ability to sort of rush into that armor and these health items, it's obviously very useful. So tends to be a lot better into these sort of hard carry type matchups that can't abuse you as much, right? Obviously, the Mordekaiser, the Darius, a bit easier, but the Yone needs to take time to scale. Obviously, doesn't have mana, so can stay in lane a bit longer. You know, uses a bit of healing, but Jason's just able to sort of keep the pressure up. Obviously, he's not burned the TP yet. He's probably going to do that just to recover his mana, given that he can't really fight without it, right? CB Batman, manaless, can just spam those abilities, can run you down. Dason without any mana is pretty much a sitting duck, so has to back for that. And Dragon is now up on the board. I do imagine that we see these junglers having down with their mid laners at some point. Obviously, the Ashe Seraphine quite strong, just like the Karma and Misfortune are quite strong early. So I imagine giving time for those top laners to scale and trying to fight early in the bot lane.
Yeah, we see Jarvan kind of finishing those wolves here. No other camps left after that, so I'd imagine we'll see a gank here. But that Tri-Bush is warded by Ashe and Seraphine, so might thwart any ganks that Rigor Mortis is thinking about. Do see an engage.
Doing a really good job of keeping this Yone sort of locked in lane, locked into fighting, and doing a really good job of trading. Obviously, having that grasp helps a lot. And, you know, if Batman can't get the engages off with the lethal tempo, it's bad. But Heiko might be caught out in the mid lane. Wraith with a really nice charm. He's trying to run back, use the flash and the barrier, but still goes down. Meanwhile, it's Florgato in the bot side who doesn't go down. Manages to secure himself a little bit of CS, while Flash is not able to get the counter engage. Really nice play there from the Valkyries, answering back on that kill. And getting an early kill onto their Jarvan, I think, is really important, given how much he wants to be ganking.
Yeah, Valkyries rotated pretty early on, and I think they were ahead of the curve there. So gamblers were not expecting both the support and jungle to be coming from bot side, but well played to them. I know gamblers were also planning on trying to get most of these grub. They sent Flash bot here, as we do see CB Batman using the ultimate to kind of get out there. But that does leave Dragon open for the gamblers to take.
Yeah, and that's really big, obviously. The gamblers being able to trade that objectives. The Valkyrie looks like, you know, they were going to get both. They were going to get a lot, but they do secure the grubs, do steal away a grub, which is huge. And then, obviously, able to trade back that Dragon as well means that they really don't actually lose that much from the mid play, at least not as much as they could have.
Yeah, and we do see Rigor Mortis kind of staying here, maybe looking for an engage. But I think waiting for Flash to use that last RE stack. But he's in safe hands. We'll be just backing out for Rigor Mortis.
Yeah, it has to be careful when you're pushed up that far. Obviously, you know the Jarvan is around mid lane. You don't want to be too risky, especially when you know you have no mobility, you have no way out without that RE ult. But now the engage comes through, and Asian Jason picking up another kill, getting rescued as he tries to walk back to lane.
Yeah, I think good layer CC there. Heiko using that Ashe ultimate. Important to note that Asian Jason did have to burn ultimate there, considering Rescued had to burn heal and the shield proc. Might be important for the next objective, but it seems like everything should be back up when grubs spawn. The second Drake is going to be that Inferno Dragon. And then we see Rigor Mortis capitalizing again on that bot side play, going for the blue buff. So yeah, one of the things I was thinking about going into the game was how heavy the junglers will gank bot, just considering Ornn and Yone would probably want to be left alone in the island. But not that many ganks in lane so far.
Yeah, you would expect a lot more coming out, especially in this early game, but not as many as we expected, especially with the Xin Zhao Jarvan, right? Obviously, these two champs love ganking a lot early, love to try and get ahead, and actually having Jarvan be the one that's up CS is not normal, but now we have 2-1v1 fights right in the mid lane. Meanwhile, on the top side, Dason getting that ultimate off onto CB Batman. Now it's Rigor Mortis trying to chase down, but CB Batman holding a really nice Q3 there to get over the Cataclysm. Now Florgato has to be careful though. Asian Jason going in. The Encore not quite going to land. Now the arrow comes out. The cleanse is good, but he might not have enough space to make it. Asian Jason with the wind becomes lightning. Snipes him out before he can get away. Really nice plays there from the entirety of the Gamblers. Seeker obviously not quite hitting that Encore, but the arrow follows up. Florgato has to burn Flash and Cleanse and still doesn't make it out. There's two huge cooldowns that he is not quite going to have back for that third Grubs fight, and is definitely not going to have back that Flash for the Dragon.
Yeah, Heiko kind of showing why Ashe has been a priority pick at Worlds and why Ashe has been a priority pick in this meta. Still surprised how that the Valkyries kind of let that up in the first round of picks. We do see maybe an engage here onto Asian Jason.
Yeah, has to be careful. Just caught walking through mid lane. Doesn't have a way back over the wall. Now it's Rigor Mortis still jumping forward. Wraith with 1, trying to get Heiko with 2. But a nice root over the wall from the Seraphine. That's sort of why you combo the Ashe and Seraphine quite well. Obviously, that E hits. Heiko steps back up, and Wraith hits a beautiful charm. Now Flash trying to go in onto Rigor Mortis, who buffers that EQ quite well. Now Rescue trying to get out, but he's going to be the one caught instead. Never mind that shield right at the last minute, keeping him alive. And the Gamblers not quite able to answer back. Amazing play there from the Valkyries. Thought they were completely gone, thought they overextended, but they pick up Heiko, and every single one makes it out.
Yeah, great layering of CC there. Gamblers almost able to kind of equalize the loss that they just had, but unfortunately for them, the Valkyries kind of left there with just a little bit of HP for both the jungler and the support. But we do see them, the Gamblers, having tempo, grabbing those rubs right now.
Yeah, and this is good, especially if they can get all of them. If they can get that 4 grubs, it's going to turn what looked like a doomed first round of grubs into getting mites, but doesn't quite look like it. They don't want to steal it away. Asian Jason obviously just hopping over the wall, going for that Gromp, and they're just going to give that one over. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Flash has just been shoving in consistently, using the pressure that he gets from these Void grubs to get as many plates as humanly possible, and sort of really try and get ahead in that side lane, especially because Wraith already picked up those 2 kills, has 5 stacks on the Dark Seal, has that Malignance. It's going to be very, very hard to deal with.
Yeah. And at 12 minutes, we have about a 1k gold lead for the Valkyries, as we do see more really just wet noodle fighting between the 2 top laners here. Ornn is up about 7 CS. I expect that to change up slightly as the game progresses. Asian Jason showing his presence top lane, forcing Dason to back off here. He does have the teleport though, so he won't give away too many plates to the Yone. As we do see both solo laners on the side lanes now.
Yeah, not too worrying. And obviously now going over to those side lanes, I'd imagine a lot of that sort of perma grouping, tons of fighting mid is a lot lower. Obviously in the early game, it's a lot more brutal. You see a lot more ganks. You see a lot more of that perma fighting if everyone's rotating to mid lane, because everyone's around there. There's so many objectives up with the mites, with the grubs, with everything. And speaking of getting caught in mid lane, Florigato walked up way too far with almost no vision. Gets caught. Asian Jason just picks up his 3rd kill of the game. And is very, very far ahead now. Has that Sundered Sky. Florigato finally finishing that Bloodthirster. I mean, it's going to be harder to poke him out, but they just have so many ways to run him down with this Ashe Seraphine combo. They have the Xin Zhao as well, and 2 melees that just have so much mobility and movement speed. I think it's going to be really hard for the Misfortune to play this game. And I think sort of locking in that Misfortune the way they did was just opening themselves up for disaster. Meanwhile, on the top side, Dason is getting fought by CB Batman, but Rigor Mortis is finally here. Call of the Forge God comes out, but an amazing ultimate from CB Batman keeps them at bay. It might not be enough, though. He has to wait. Seeker needs to come. The shields are good, but it's not quite enough. They're not able to take out Dason either. Wraith going in. Flash trying to jump or jump back in, maybe. Trying to turn this fight, but they have to be careful. Asian Jason finally on his way back down, but the Valkyrie is backing off. They do not want any more. They got 1 kill, and they are happy with it.
Yeah, meanwhile, Heiko just solo pushed the bot. Might be able to get first tower here. Turret plane has fallen, but at least we'll get that first tower bonus gold. Good tempo for the Gamblers here, though. Being able to work on this Herald uncontested, and it seems like Valks will be giving it away. Yeah, as you pointed out, I think Asian Jason is really far ahead. 3 kills on him. I think both ganks bot side or near bot side those kills have been given to him. So we'll see how he accelerates the game. You're hoping that he doesn't give any deaths, as most of the gold is on him at the moment.
Yeah, and if Asian Jason obviously starts dying on that Xin Zhao, which is very possible given how Valkyries have a lot of sort of layered CC to counter engage with if they land it right. The Crescent Guard's going to help a lot with that, but if they're able to get in range, if they're able to get that shutdown, it's going to be very hard to sort of stop them and keep that snowball rolling. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Flash stepped a bit too far forward, and Wraith with a really nice charm off that flag and drag. The Malignance shedding that magic resist is very, very strong. Getting the true damage on that return Q is huge. And going for the Oblivion Orb as well, just to sit on, just to make sure that Flash is not able to heal as much. And I think that's a really smart buy from the Ahri, given just how much healing there is, right? Obviously, the Seraphine has a lot of healing. Flash has a lot of innate healing on that Silas Kingslayer. CB Batman will be going for the Bork early. That's going to be healing. Agent Jason with the Xinjiao passive. So, you know, making sure you have ways to diminish that to make sure that you can land that pick without them sort of draining all the damage that you just did is very important.
Yeah, I think typically with Ares, you go Malignance into Leandri's and then anti-heal somewhere there. But it's good to see that Wraith picked it up. I think it's a second item maybe, or a third item, I forget. Because I think there is a lot of healing on the side of Valkyries. Also kind of surprised here that the Jarvan has a bounty, but not the Xin Zhao.
Yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one. I'd imagine it's because of the cool difference and because Agent Jason already died once. Obviously, Rigor Mortis has not died yet this game. And Agent Jason has just sort of been ganking a lot, not farming as well as he could have. I imagine if he stays safe for a couple more minutes, gets another kill, farms a little bit more, should be seeing that soon. Probably going for, I'd imagine, the Cleaver. That second item, obviously having the Phage and the Ruby Crystal finish, is leaning towards that. But really what we're looking at right now is Wraith and Rigor Mortis, right? The ability for these players to catch any player on an off angle. If they walk into vision, if they walk just a little bit too far forward, it is very easy to just get bursted down by this Ahri Jarvan combo.
Yeah, as we do see 45 seconds left for this Mountain Dragon to appear. It is going to be a Mountain Soul for this game. Both teams at one dragon apiece. We'll see how they prioritize this, as we do see members of Valkyries back already. It looks like the side of Gamblers now electing back, kind of putting their wards and vision up right now. Maybe hoping to get a pick here, as they are pressuring the mid lane. As the wet new to fight up top continues. A little bit of a difference
bit
though.
More.
Yeah.
I was about to say, it's definitely more favored towards Yone now that he has that Bork finished. However, Dason does want to find a pick. Nice call of the Forge God, but a really nice buffer from CB Batman is going to help a lot. Wraith now trying to find something, not quite able to land the charm, but he uses that last Spirit's Rush. Gets in, it's going to be very good, but they have conceded Prio on the Dragon for that, and the Gamblers are full positioned around. However, Dason uses that kill time to back, get the TP in, and Wraith is already back down here. The double TPs means the Valkyries have full priority on this Dragon. However, the junglers are not down. Agent Jason could always try and land a smite if he's not careful. Wraith looking for the charm, and it's good. Now Rigor Mortis over the wall. Redemption comes down. It's going to be a lot of damage, but not quite any kills yet. Rigor Mortis has to be careful. Finally going in, but Heiko has been so good about the kiting. Is he able to get it? Yes, he is. A 1-for-1 in a 3v4 is very, very good. Dason now finally TP'd in, but he doesn't have his carries
TP's up.
to back him up. Finally, Flash TPing back in, CB Batman TPing back in. They have to be very careful. The Yone now trying to chase down Wraith. All he needs is that quick execute, but he snaps back just a little bit too early. Rescued with the shield, gonna rescue his mid laner. Now Flash going forward, using the Proto Belt to try and close the distance, but a nice flash from Rescued gets him out to safety. A lot of danger here, and Rigor Mortis still under tower trying to defend, trying to use the tower to his advantage. Flash has to be careful, but a really nice engage there from CB Batman will pick up one, and the execute onto Seeker means that they will not return any gold. It is still Gamblers that come out ahead in that fight and are now up 1,000 gold.
Wow, what a series of events there. I think big pick onto CB Batman earlier on, right before the Dragon was started. But I think crucially, the Valkyries ended up trying to kill Agent Jason. As we do see a teleport coming from this Silas, preventing them from going in. Ooh, Florgata might be picked out here.
Yeah, has to be careful, and Florgata just walks up too far once again. And this is what I don't really like about the Misfortune, especially with how the Valkyries like to play. They tend to want mobility on their carry, or at least a lot of utility, right? When you pick this character that is very early game focused, that is very hard to snowball with if you don't get extremely far ahead and doesn't have the mobility, you're just so susceptible to being caught. You're so susceptible to being dove in fights, and it's very hard to actually deal with it. Now 1v1 on the top side, Wraith using that Spirit Rush to try and get in. Isn't quite able to dodge out on that Fate Sealed though. Really nice dodge there from CB Batman, but it's not going to be quite enough. Wraith just has enough damage with that Malignance and Leandri's burn to take him out. Now 7 stacks back on the Darksteel, restacking that, and I think that's really good, right? Obviously, Ari going down that last fight, not being able to find as much as you would have wanted, was worrying, especially because the champ just falls off so hard if at any point they stop snowballing, but being able to get that another 1v1 is going to be very, very big.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, lots of action in the past couple of minutes, but I think the reason why the Gamblers were able to win that crucial dragon fight was because they tried to kill Asian Jason pretty early on, but unfortunately with that ultimate, no one was really in range. I think the Jarvan ult actually was really bad for Valkyries because he ulted the Xin Zhao. The Xin Zhao ulted as well, and no one could actually damage him. And he was able to survive long enough for the Gamblers to kind of catch up and do damage back. So we'll see how they approach the next fight. I think that was just an unfortunate series of events for the Valkyries, but they are indeed behind 2k gold.
Yeah. And it's going to be really hard to sort of stagnate this comeback if you're not able to find the picks that you need. Flash using that Spirit Rush just to get out the stolen. Has to be careful with those chains. I think if you went back, that would have been really, really bad. Obviously, Wraith could have hit the charm, and that's pretty much doomed. So I think Flash just obviously, you know, it's a very big threat throwing out those chains, but maybe learn when it's not a threat for them, right? Maybe when actually throwing out those chains is a threat for you. And you can see now Heiko with full priority in the mid lane, able to get those 1v1s, but now Flash going for the 1v1 up top, just going to wait for Asian Jason here, try and secure a little bit more. Asian Jason with the smite, going to try and maybe dodge it out, but Wraith has to run back into tower, and Asian Jason ends up picking up the kill. Overstaying, I think, is really the name of the game here, right? Valkyries have just overstayed their welcome a lot, and I think they've been punished for it a bit too much, and that's making it really hard for them to get back into that game, right? Down a dragon, you know, even in Void Grubs, but they're down 3 towers now. Their carry is very far behind, and it's very hard for them to actually find positioning on the map right now.
Yeah. What I was saying in draft, I feel like Gamblers with their comp kind of excel in the chaos. I think there's multiple avenues of them to engage and disengage and just have lots of threats in CCs with the Ash Arrow, the Seraphine ultimate, as well as Silas just stealing some of these ults. As we do see Jason at level 13, so he does have an ornament for himself. I think that will help a ton. Kind of help, you know, mitigate some of the gold deficit on the side of Valkyries. But you're right. It'll be interesting to see how they fight. We have the Mountain Dragon in a minute 30. Really no vision on the bot side. We see a couple of words on the bot side there, the tri-bush, but nothing else. So it'll be a pivotal next minute to see how they set this up.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm expecting a lot of priority come out of the Gamblers, and for the Valkyries to try and have to fight their way in, which trying to do that into a Seraphine and an Ashe is going to be really, really difficult, especially when you have the Silas that can just steal so many of these huge ultimates. Obviously, being able to steal the Call of the Forge God there, being able to reposition it so well is going to be really, really difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I'm looking at itemizations here. Ari looks like is going to go for the Void Staff or Bloom, as we do see Wraith maybe caught.
Has to be careful. Might be caught once again, but it's actually Asian Jason who
Oh!
looks to be on the bad side. A really nice Cataclysm into a 3-man Call of the Forge God, but the damage isn't quite enough. Deeker with an amazing shield there keeps his carries alive. Now it's Rigor Mortis forced to run out, and Wraith is running for the hills. No Flash, no ultimate left, and Flash taking the Call of the Forge God. This is why it's so big. Has to dodge out back, but it's going to be Heiko now picking up a second kill, and it's going to be Asian Jason with the third. Now it's going to be Florgato trying to use that ultimate to clear out the mid-wave, but he doesn't do enough damage. He's not that threatening, and they're just able to dive the tower. Now it's only Rigor Mortis left alive, and he has to run away because he is just too low. Gamblers had a really nice 4-for-0 fight, turning their eyes towards the Baron, turning their 80 carry towards the Dragon, and they should be able to take everything.
Wow, what a play by the Gamblers. I mean, I don't know. The Valkyries had actually a good, decent look there. I think Jarvan ultimate, I think 3 or 4 of them into that pit. Ornn ult into them. But unfortunately, CB Batman did teleport right in the middle. And for whatever reason, the Valkyries were too scared to initiate. I think the moment they saw the teleport, they just backed off. I think that might have been very crucial. I think if they had just engaged and focused on the fight there, they would have come up with at least 1 or 2 kills in return, maybe a chance at something more. But not, unfortunately, a series of events were too of the players died in that fight, and then 2 more died as they tried to retreat in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I think really it's coming down to just how much burst you can get out, right? Because if you can't burst past the Seraphine, you really don't have a lot of hope in team fights, right? If Asian Jason being like fully caught out with a charm, with Rigor Mortis on the engage, with all this damage coming through, and a follow-up Call of the Forge got onto 3 people from Decent, and that's not anywhere near enough. I don't know how much of a chance you really have to get back into this game if they just stay grouped, if they stay caught. But this is one of the ways back in, right? Trying to catch out Seeker, Wraith going in, using the Spirit Rush, going to get a lot of damage, and that's exactly what they needed. A really nice Call of the Forge God. It's going to help line up the ultimate for Floragato using that bullet time, but gets dove on right afterwards, and Asian Jason is just a bit too tanky at this point in the game, just has a bit too much disdain from the Sundered Sky, and Heiko's able to pick up one with the Bloodthirster. They just have so much of this lifesteal, and once the Ahri goes down, they don't have a lot of ways to stop it, and it's just been really hard for them to actually get these picks, right? Even when the picks look good, even when it looks amazing for them, all it takes is one well-placed Encore from Seeker, a couple shields, a little bit of healing, and all that work that they just did looks like it was nothing.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that they're so behind. I think at this point in the game, almost 10,000 gold at 26 minutes. You're just looking for picks. And I know they tried their best to do it, but unfortunately they had no vision of the top side. Kind of tried to fetch out Seeker. But unfortunately Xin Zhao and Ashe were there, and they just didn't have damage to kind of kill any of them.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is really unfortunate about this comp, is you draft in such a way where if you ever get behind, there's not a lot of ways back into this game, right? You have to try and find miracle picks, and if you're not able to do it, you just have to run back, give more objectives, give more and more and more and more, which only makes it even harder to get those miracle picks, and it just sort of snowballs out of control until even the miracle picks are just not even a miracle anymore. It's just straight up impossible, right? So
yeah,
I think we're sort of getting to that point now where even if you're able to find these picks, you need everything to go right, and you kind of need the enemy team to mess up more than you need to play it well. And I think that's really the crux of the issue, right? Is that gamblers just have not given them any opportunities.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Even with Ornn giving his first ornament to the Ahri, they're just so behind. They're playing this really textbook on Sap Gamblers. Oh,
a little bit of an engage now. Going in, that might have been the fight. Floragato with really well-placed bullet time, able to take out 2. Wraith trying to follow up on that. Now CB Batman goes in, jumping right back to his clone, but it might not be enough. Taking a lot of true damage here, trying to dash away, dodging out on the Flag and Dragon. It won't be enough. Wraith picking up another one, and that is a 4 for 0 for Valkyries. And this is what I was talking about, right? It's much more on gamblers to mess up, and there they do. They step way too far forward. They are not respecting the Call of the Forge God. They are not respecting the Cataclysm setup from Rigor Mortis, and they're able to get that wombo combo that they've been looking for all game.
that was so surprising. The top wave was just about to crash too. If they just held off and like relaxed for a couple of seconds, I think even if they lost the fight, they would have taken out a lot more. Topside, they did get one of the turrets, which is a nice, I guess, compensation there. But good on the Valks for trying to find an opening.
Yeah, really good there. I think the biggest issue that gamblers have now is obviously all that gold injection that they just got. They're still about 6k gold ahead, right? It's nowhere near that crazy. But they were like 8,000 gold ahead, 9,000 gold ahead. They just lost a massive advantage. And now that the Ornn upgrades are coming through, that's going to help a lot. Wraith finally with the Leandris upgrade, Floragato with that Bloodthirster upgraded. The damage is going to be a lot more significant now, right? Now that all the damage threats have sort of gotten their items online. Flash with the engage, but now Wraith going back in, use the Spirit Rush. Flash trying to grab that and go back, but just going to be dashing back away. Trade for trade the ultimates, but Flash was forced to use his to get out of that, and not having that cooldown on the Silas is going to be really, really big for trying to find these sort of engages, trying to find these picks onto the rest of the Valkyries.
Yeah, it looks like the Valks are still on the back pedal, as we do see gamblers kind of forcing their advantage here. Makes sense. Mountain Dragon is up in 30 seconds. They don't want to let off any of this pressure and give them a chance to ward and get vision. Topside still has supers as well.
You're seeing TP there from Flash. You can see, obviously, see Batman too, just using that Clone to try and go into that tower, try and get these picks off, maybe just flash back to safety as he can, just do free tower damage, and then opens up his team to try and get this inhibitor, right? They want to open up at least this mid lane inhibitor before the dragon, try and get the pressure. A nice steal there. Flash does now have the Call of the Forge God. They have to be careful, but it's Jason using his first, finally using it, but a really nice arrow there, gonna help it. The Encore will hit nobody, but a really nice Call of the Forge God from Jason. Takes out Florigato before the rest of the team can respond. Now they have to be careful. An amazing Fate Steal there from CB Batman on the flank, and that might just be it. A 4-for-0 right now, and Jason is getting run down. Asian Jason trying to get a little bit more. Jason just cannot do anything. Doesn't have the Call of the Forge God. Doesn't have any way back in for that wave clear, and so many supers are pushing down. It is going to be Gamblers taking the first game of the series with a decisive victory in those last couple minutes.
Good job to the Gamblers there. I mean, it looked like they were gonna maybe potentially lose that game. They did give an out to the Valks, but during that last fight, a humongous arrow from the Ashe there. I think stopping the R2 on the Ornn was pivotal, just because in the previous fight, the reason why they won that fight was MF was able to unload her entire ultimate onto the backline. But in this case, the MF got caught out, no damage there, and without that source of damage, kind of one-sided fight.
Yeah, and I think this is the biggest issue you have when you draft these sort of Ahri-focused compositions that rely on burst, right? Jarvan, Ahri, and Misfortune, they're very good at getting picks. And obviously, right before the final fight, we saw that sort of wombo combo hit. But that wombo combo is kind of magical Christmas land, right? You're relying on the entire enemy team to be lined up in such a way that you're able to get that off. And if they're spread at all, if they're positioning well, it's very, very hard to do that, right? It's more reliant on the enemy team messing up, right? Whereas Gambler's comp, they have a lot of similar proactivity with that Ashe arrow, with that Suz, with that Jin Zhao sort of rotating on them. But they have a lot more survivability. They have a lot more consistent damage with the Ashe. The Seraphine keeping them alive with those shields. They have a lot of counter engage, and they're able to steal away all of the major engage and mobility from the Valkyries, right? Flash able to steal away that Ahri ultimate, the Spirit Rush, for any mobility that you may need, and being able to take the Call of the Forge God gives you so much engage potential.
Yeah, we'll see how they adjust and draft. I did note that it was really interesting to let the Ashe through. I mean, the Seraphine was picked B1, and in response, they picked the Ahri and Jarvan, which was a little surprising there. That gave the opening for the Gamblers to take Ashe, which is such a strong pick. So we'll see how they adjust as we start getting ready for game 2. We're going to take a short break here as the teams kind of reset their drafts, and we'll come back here in just a minute.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Otter Draft League. We're in draft for Game 2 of our series, the Gamblers versus the Valkyries. Game 1, very, very close, right until the end there, right? Gamblers ahead most of the game, but Valkyries able to fight back quite well. And I think I'd like to see a bit more of a well-rounded draft from Valkyries this time, obviously because they went for such a snowball focused game plan, they weren't quite able to get that done, and it felt like they were playing on the back foot most of the game. Even if it did feel kind of close for most of it, it was just very hard for them to actually find anything once they got the picks, right? They were so low that it was kind of hard for them to convert it into anything. So I'd like to see a bit more proactivity here. I'd like to see a lot more of the ability for them to rotate to fights and sort of secure priority and maybe some of these powerful picks in draft. As we see the Seraphine locked in. So instead of the Ashe, opting for that Seraphine, which is immediately answered back by the Ashe Jarvan, which they do not want to give away.
Yeah, so it looks like the bans were the same as game 1. They did flip sides. Valkyries have chosen blue side. And it looks like a repeat of game 1, Seraphine prioed B1, and then the Ashe this time around being selected in the first round of the red phase. As we do see Jin being hovered here will pretty much parallel B1, the blue side picks of game 1. Ashe not available anymore since the Gamblers did take that away. So we'll see if they do respond in kind in the ADC position.
Yeah. And I'd imagine that they do. I'd imagine they lock in something good here. Hopefully not the misfortune again. As I say that, they lock it in. Hopefully they have a better way to set this up, because what I just have not been impressed by this misfortune pick for the past couple weeks. I know teams like it. I really do not think it's good, and I haven't really seen it be good. I haven't seen a lot of the power that comes with this pick actually being shown off, being put on display. So we'll see. But the Braum locked in as well, sort of that counter engage, realizing that they already have the main engage in Jarvan, some follow-up in Braum, and some extra peel is going to help a lot, especially with that Seraphine, right? Being able to block that Encore, being able to block a lot of the damage from that bullet time is going to make it very, very hard for the Valkyries to sort of get these big damage ultimates and big teamfight ultimates to go through.
Yeah, we do see the Ahri and Cassante ban Syndra right after. We'll see if the Valkyries decide to ban the Sylas as well. There are many ultimates that are good on both sides, and since the Gamblers do have the priority pick, I'd imagine they ban Sylas. Ahri is, I'd say, a good pick into the Sylas. Unfortunately, Ahri is already banned, I think, just to freshen it up. But it seems like they're just going to stick with their game plan from game 1, ban Cassante and Olaf in the second round. So that does leave Sylas open. We'll see if the Gamblers do decide to run that pick back. As I do think it is a fairly strong pick into the side of against MF and Seraphine.
Yeah, really like this here. Really, really do like this. I think the biggest thing here is making sure that they can't follow up on the picks that they already have. Banning out the priority of that Ahri and banning out the sort of pick potential from that Syndra. The peel potential is very good. And locking the Orianna, obviously very good with the Jarvan. Very good at being able to pick people off with that Ashe. You know, he's done the arrow in. It sets up for a really nice ball into Shockwave combo. I'd imagine we also see more of that sort of go forward type engage or bruiser or someone to be able to run people down in that top lane once it is locked in. But we are going to see the Ornn run back for the Valkyries. Not really that surprised. I think it worked pretty well for them last game. It was one of the highlights of their comp. It was one of the only ways that they were able to get something done. I think not picking it would have been pretty insane. And I think for mid lane here, really what you're looking at is someone with range, someone who can sort of play these team fights as a mage, and the Aurora would definitely do that. Obviously a little bit less range than maybe some of those more poke-oriented picks, but being able to put people into that divide, being able to sort of bounce around with that invisibility, I think is going to help a lot at dodging out a lot of these very crucial skill shot based engages. We're looking at a middle hover, which is a bit interesting, but I do like it. There's not that much hard CC for the Valkyries, right? Obviously Ornn with that brittle proc, definitely hard CC, and that's going to suck, but when you're in a team fight, when you're really getting run down, a lot of that CC is mostly a Jarvan knockup or Crescent Strike or a Seraphine Encore, right? It's pretty much all on ultimates. It's pretty much all on very long cooldowns, so it can be very hard to deal with that Mundo, which I really like. And I think being able to build very tanky into a team that a lot of their damage is kind of hard to get online early, is going to be extremely useful for them. So I do favor the Gamblers comp. That being said, unless they intend to break our stream curse, I still have the Valkyries going for this one. I know causation does not equal correlation. However, these two teams are evenly matched enough that I think Valkyries still have it in them to bring us to a game 3.
Yeah, the Valkyries here have a much better, well-rounded comp this time around. I think they have multiple champions that kind of disrupt with the Jin Zhao, the Ornn, and the Aurora this time. I think it actually gives some spacing for this Misfortune. I think also different as well. Not many ways to disrupt the Misfortune either. Because last game we had the Silas, we had the Yone kind of going into the Misfortune. But this time around, pretty much solid. As we do see the players here already selecting their champions. And with that, we'll just take a short break as they do end up drafting their champs. And then we'll get into game 2 of the series.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We're in Game 2 for our Gamblers versus Valkyries series. Gamblers taking a close victory in Game 1 with a couple of really well-placed team fights and some amazing plays from their entire team just working together quite well. Valkyrie is going to have to try and bring it back, drafting a much more team fight-oriented comp this time to sort of help them get through those rough patches.
Yep, we do see two mirror matchups from last game, the jungle and the mid. We do see Batman kind of trying to invade here. Would spell something bad here if he did go, but nope, he decided to go around the other way, and we'll see.
I think you meant
What
bot
happened?
lane. This is definitely not what we saw last game. Two mages versus sort of these two divers. And speaking of the bot lane ditto, Heiko just getting so much damage off early, forcing Florigato back, and it's going to be rough. Going to be a bit late to that minion wave, especially if they back off, but being canceled is going to be really hard. Now Dason just trying to beat up on CB Batman, get a little bit of that early damage here. CB Batman trying to trade back with those cleavers. Is getting run down more. Dason just going for more, but he's eating a lot of cleavers on this, and I think that was kind of a mistake going forward. Had a really nice little play there, but now proccing the passive means CB Batman's actually going to have the health advantage, which I'm not thrilled about. That being said, Florigato eating a lot of poke in that bot lane is going to make that early laning that much harder against the Ashe.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, wow, and the W lands on him as well. I'm surprised he didn't elect to go back there. I think there's a lot of time left there. So quite unfortunate, super problematic here, as we do see just poke after poke landing on Florigato.
Yeah, and has to be extremely careful, right? Does still have the cleanse and the flash, but if you get caught by one of those Winter's bites, it's going to be a lot harder to run out with that Ashe running you down, right? It has the approach velocity. It's going to be really hard. You're going to have to blow a sum just to leave, right? Or you have to back up this far. You just can't get CS. You're not going to get as much XP. It's really rough. Obviously, the lane pushing into them now is going to be a bit more helpful, getting it over that regen, but still not a situation you want to be in, especially with Jarvan clearing down here, going for a 5 camp into a potential gank is going to be pretty rough.
So the Xin Zhao did invade that top side and actually was spotted by the J4, which is why I think they're trying to put the gas in the bot side here, give some space for the J4 to invade, as we do see gank in mid lane here.
Yeah, gas coming for the mid lane now. Asian Jason not quite hitting that flag and dragon, now punished in mid. Wraith with a really nice recall, and the win comes lightning from Rigor Mortis that picks up first blood. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Heiko just running down, rescued in Florigato, and the heal has to be forced out. And this little Guardian proc there from the Braum is going to help a lot, but Asian Jason is going to be down so much after dying in that mid lane. Has his top side stolen away. Rigor Mortis able to pick up that kill. It's really rough for the Jarvan, who wants to be getting ahead early, who wants to be ganking. Just down so much XP, so much CS right now.
Yeah, misplay there. I think it would have been much better for the J4 to start farming on the bot side. You knew Xin Zhao took your top. It would take a lot of time to get to bot. And I think it was pretty much free for the J4 to take some clamps away. But unfortunately, a botch gank there took, I think, a tower shot. Or just a lot of poke from this Aurora. And that just spelled the first kill given to Rigor Mortis. As we do pan up to this top lane, different version of a What Uno fight from game 1, but I think most of the action will again be focused on this mid and bot side.
Yeah, just sort of a tank fight up in the top side means that we shouldn't be seeing a lot of early kills. That being said, Asian Jason really needs to find a way to get back on this map, to find a way to do something. You can see him trying to invade that red buff now, see if he's going to be able to hit the smite. Not going to be able to, and now he's going to be at the risk of dying to Rigor Mortis. Lands Wind becomes lightning. His challenge strikes just heal way too much. And he's going to go down once again for a complete solo kill. And Asian Jason just devastatingly far behind right now. Wraith with full priority in that mid lane. Your bot lane's getting pushed in, but the rest of the map doing pretty well. And if you're able to get the priority that you're able to from the Xin Zhao getting all these kills early on, if you're able to sort of transition these into ganks, if you're able to convert this into objectives, into kills, it's going to be a big deal, and it's going to make it a lot harder for gamblers to get back into that game, even with how well their bot lane has been doing.
Yeah, a bit of a repeat from game 1. Xin Zhao getting all these not solo kills, sorry, but these early kills, really helping out in this case for the Valkyries. I think Asian Jason kind of needs to slow down here, focus on farming, catching up. A big reason why he lost that fight there was because the Xin Zhao did have double buffs. I think if he did not, then J4 could have been in a spot, as he was ahead with that longsword, but unfortunately at that point in the game, double buffs just is too much at level 4.
Yeah, and you can see now the extra sustain that they've been able to get out of this lane from the biscuits that they've been able to get with this poke and the Seraphine W's has just made it a lot easier to trade back onto Heiko and Seeker. And now they're actually kind of on the back foot, right? You have to be so worried about this Xin Zhao just ganking Perma just being down here. But if you're not willing to step up and sort of feign that he's there, it makes it a lot easier for Seeker to just do this and walk up, and they don't really have to be scared, right? Especially with this lane pushing the way it is. Gonna just try and sort of get that lane into a neutral spot, potentially freeze it, get a lot of this poke down. Seeing if they can. Seeker just trying to fish for maybe a stun here. A little bit of extra damage there, but takes a lot of damage on his way back. Still, the bot lane just on a razor's edge right now. Both teams have to be careful. Both of the sums are up, but none of them have been blown quite yet. And I imagine we don't see any of them actually used until any of these ganks come out. However, speaking of which, we have a gank in the mid lane and Jarvan approaching from the bot side. Flash has to use that to back out. Now Rescued forced to flash out. Seeker going a bit too deep, and the shield placed in a bad spot there. Not going to block any of Floragado's damage, and a nice flag there to dodge out on the flag and drag. Heiko not quite able to get the damage off. Really nice flashes from the Valkyries bot lane, getting an extra kill there. And Seeker just not accounting for the shield in that situation, not really accounting for Floragato, just pathing straight down and away.
Yeah, I think they kind of went too hard there, or too early. J4 was still making his way downtown. And kind of flash Q there too early, as we do see Dason maybe dying here. Batman can land some Qs, yeah.
Yeah, CB Batman has a lot of regen, but Call of the Forge God just going to dissuade him a little bit. Does have to be careful, though, obviously. Still very vulnerable, but if he doesn't have to get hit by those cleavers, I don't think CB Batman has enough damage to deal with it before Dason can win a fight. So both tanks have to be a bit careful in this early game. See Wraith just trading so well in that mid lane. Has just had priority all of this early game. Has just been able to do so much. And with Flash having no sums, it should give them pretty good priority on this dragon. As I say that, though, Asian Jason looking for a gank. Flash is forward, gets the flag and drag off, but they don't have the damage. Now it's Rigor Mortis down here. Just going to try and jump in, using that 3 Talon Strike. The wind becomes lightning for the slow rescue, trying to land a little bit more. And it's Floragato picking up his second kill of the game. With the jungler and the bot lane now 2-0. 1,500 gold ahead in this game. Full priority on those Void Grubs. And the Valkyries looking like they want to turn it around.
Yeah, a little bit of a botched gank there. I think they just assumed Xin Zhao wasn't on the side, or maybe was focused on Grubs at the time. But unfortunately, I had to burn the flash right away, and it was still not enough to get away. And that is the second kill given to MF. And now the first dragon onto the side of Valkyries. As we do see in response, though, J4 is at Grubs, which is the smart play here.
Yeah, a bit of a trade here coming out. However, doesn't have his mid laner or top laner with him, and Rigor Mortis is just running up there to try and find him, so might be able to only secure 1 grub before he's forced to dodge out. Nice damage here from Heiko, getting a lot onto Floragato. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow blocked by Rescued, but not going to be able to block the rest of that volley. And Heiko picks up a kill, returning the damage right back onto Floragato. Really great plays. There's amazing spacing from the Ashe.
Yeah, instead of getting turret played, it looks like they want to get back on tempo. It likes to go back. And I gotta say, I wasn't really paying attention to the CS, but MF is kind of starved in the CS department. Currently at 33 CS. A little bit even out by getting those 2 early kills. But Ashe really in the driver's seat is bot lane. And I think that's super important for the gamblers because earlier on, there was really no outs for them. Or their outs were starting to diminish. But I think having Heiko still locked and loaded is super important. Because then you do have a win con in that bot lane.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the big condition that you have to worry about is just trying to get back on tempo with this Jarvan. It's going to be really hard when this is happening to your mid laner. Flash being very careful. The shockwave comes out. Might have dodged out just enough, but Wraith able to pick up that kill. Finally, the Jarvan able to pick up that shutdown is going to be really good for getting back into the game. And Dason in the top side trying to trade onto CB Batman. But the extra healing from the ultimate is just barely enough to keep him alive. Dason going down in the 1v1. 2 for 0 across the map. Really nice pickup there from Asian Jason. That's going to help so much being able to get the shutdown onto that Jarvan. But Wraith picking up his first kill of the game, and this is a player that can do so much with these early leads.
Yeah, did have to burn flash though in getting that kill back, so he won't have it for the next dragon fight. which is a little bit important considering that's how the ultimate might be used to secure someone, lock someone down. But oh, we do maybe see Wraith a
They're
little
ganking
bit
in the mid
pushed.
lane. Agent Jason running out of mana, has to be careful. Wraith not quite going to go down here. And you can see in the bot lane, Seeker was just positioning for a fight there, trying to bait Rescued into using that Encore, trying to use something that they could engage. But really nice trigger discipline from Rescued, not worrying about it, knows that they can just trade back with the autos. They don't have to be that worried about this happening. Wraith staying in mid lane, trying to bait Flash in. This might be a re-engage from Rigor Mortis, trying to find the Ray Wind becomes lightning. Doesn't even need it, just goes right in with the dash. And Wraith picking up another kill, buying the Dark Seal once again. And, you know, in game one, the Ahri was really feeling like the major component of that game, right? It was feeling like that was your main way to win. And Wraith has just been so good on these picks. You give him a pick that scales better, it's going to be able to do a lot more in the team fights, and you have this the same early lead. I think it's going to be very, very hard for the gamblers to get back into this. It's going to be really a lot on Heiko, I think, to be putting out the damage and to be finding these arrows on the Ashe, to find the picks that they need, to be able to use Asian Jason, use this Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and use Flash and just try and one-shot someone, try and be able to get the burst down on someone before a fight so that the fight isn't even. Because in any even fight, I don't think Valkyries are able to lose.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, Aurora doesn't have any flash. I think now is the time for J4 to go towards mid lane and for Ashe to shoot an arrow from the mid lane as well. I think they could have honestly looked for it right now, but I think that time frame has gone down because that Aurora is pretty much significantly ahead from this Orianna, and then a bounty gold onto Orianna would really help even things out.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing you need to focus on here, I think, is trying to make sure that your Orianna and your Ashe get the gold that they need, get the experience that they need, right? Because CB Batman's doing totally fine up in this top side in this tank Ditto. I say that, you know, an engage here, Dason getting good damage, but obviously the healing from CB Batman means that not actually at risk of dying. Like, the tanks are just going to do what they're doing. CB Batman is just going to get this Heartsteel and scale as much as he wants to. It's really going to be getting the gold on your carries because you have so much protection for them that you need them to be able to do the damage. You need them to be able to show up in these team fights, because if they're not able to do that, you just don't have enough with the rest of your team comp to fight past the Seraphine shielding, to fight past all the damage that Wraith is doing, and to fight past all the peel that they have from the Seraphine, from the Ornn, from the Crescent Guard that they have on that Xin Zhao. Speaking of peel, might not be enough to save Rescued. Asian Jason jumps in, but a nice flash from Rescued over the wall keeps him alive. Now the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and Asian Jason finds the pick. Wraith finally jumping back, trying to find a little bit more damage, and he's able to get Seeker, but Heiko won't go down. Florgato needs to find one more auto, needs to find a little bit more onto Heiko, but Asian Jason just going to take the flag and drag out. It's going to be a 2-for-1 trade there in the bot lane in favor of the Valkyries. Or sorry, in favor of the Gamblers, who, like I said, need to pull this back. This is what you need, right? Get the kills onto your carries, get the engages here, and shut down the enemy carries, and that's exactly what they're doing here.
Yeah, and the shutdown gold is onto the right person on Heiko. 201 already finished the Shiv. Will return with a decent chunk of change, as maybe Florgato might have backed in a terrible position. Has cleanse and flash up, but maybe not have flash up. Maybe there was a few seconds left. It seemed like the flash was up, and I guess just did not like to use it. Solo Bolo onto Asian Jason there.
Yeah, maybe thinking that healing from the Vamp Scepter, that he might have just had a little bit more, that he would have been able to survive, or maybe just take out Heiko just barely. But I think he was maybe waiting for that Enchanted Crystal Arrow to come out to use any of those summoners, but that was still on cooldown for Heiko. Heiko didn't have it. Now Heiko just trying to finish off this tower, using the barrier.
Oh, okay.
Didn't end up needing it. Would have been completely fine without it, but hey, I mean, you secure the tower, you secure that kill, you are so far ahead on this Ashe, and that's exactly what you want, right? Obviously, the Valkyries looked good in this early game, but all that gold that the Ashe just got from those shutdowns, from all those tower plates, from that tower gold, the first tower blood, they're actually up 2,000 gold now, and a lot of that is coming down to the Ashe, right? A lot of that is coming down to this bot lane being ahead, from the jungler being able to recover those shutdowns.
Batman.
Top lane. being so well, but has to be careful. Rigor Mortis now up here. Jason going in. Use the Call of the Forge God, and Rigor Mortis does land the win, become Lightning. Finally going to engage, waiting to use that dash to try and get in to close that distance. Now Rescued finally up here, trying to get a root down. And he's able to do it, but they actually don't commit to the fight. The healing from CB Batman is just a little too strong. They're not able to find the pick that they needed. Now Seeker and Asian Jason up here to maybe return something, but they realize 3 strong is not a fight that you want to take at this stage of the game. Just going to wait for those objectives to come back up, try and take a more advantageous fight in the future.
Yeah, good trigger discipline on the side of Batman. I think had both Ghost and Ultimate up, did not use it until he was close to his tower and Seraphine appeared. Almost really close to just escaping without using anything there. So that's big on Batman's part there. As the what new to fight is starting to be a little bit more lopsided there. Batman, I think if he had his ultimate there, could have killed him. But
yeah, probably with a dive on a
leaves.
tower.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying, it is very lopsided now. This is something that we see a lot from the Mundo. It just has a lot of damage with those cleavers, and the base damage is really good, especially with the extra AD granted from his E passive. So you sort of just end up winning the tank fights most of the time, but it's kind of hard to actually finish off a kill, right? As Mundo, you have a good damage, you can sort of box very well, but you can't actually finish anyone off. You're not going to be running anyone down doing this insane damage quite yet. And opting to not go the Heartsteel, opting for the Warmogs instead means he doesn't have that extra damage and health scaling, so it's going to be a little bit hard. And you can see Dason just going for that, not the Unending Despair, sorry, the Hollowed Radiance, to get that extra wave clear off, to be able to clear so well, get that extra plated steel caps, and it's kind of hard to actually do anything up in that top side. So I think both teams need to just stop going up here to get kills entirely, right? I think they should just be focusing entirely on the spot side, getting their carries ahead, making sure that they get the team fights where they need them. Wraith, really nice play there to try and dodge out, but he flashes just a little bit too far forward. You can see what he wanted to do there, wanted to use that teleport to try and back out, but he flashes over his own ultimate, and he's not quite able to get out there. Really nice shockwave from Flash there, really nice Cataclysm, and they just line up another kill. It's going to be really, really beneficial. Now the Call of the Forge God comes out, but CB Batman takes out the tower. That's the Call of the Forge God that might be a bit worrisome. CB Batman has popped Ghost, going to continue running it down, but the Flash from CB Batman not going to be there. Jason gets out. Florgato has Flash, is just electing not to use it. I don't know if that Dicky is unbound, but Florgato has now died twice with Flash up in a completely avoidable situation.
Yeah, Rescued was there too with a heal and with the Empowered W, so I was kind of confused. But early on, what I wanted to say was Dragon is coming up, and then Dason decided to teleport earlier on, so he won't be able to be at Dragon unless he walks there. Batman does have teleport, can still put pressure up this top lane, which is huge, because I don't think at this time anyone can really lane against this Mundo.
Yeah, and it was looking really good for Valkyries in the early game, and it's still not bad, right? If you just look at the scoreboard, you think, it can't be that bad. But you know, no towers to 3, getting all of these kill differences, right? The priority on drag matters too, right? That is almost a 5,000 gold advantage, right? 4,500, give or take, for the Gamblers are in a massive lead right now, even if it doesn't actually look that different, because they just aren't able to capitalize off of that grub value, right? They have the 5 grubs, but they don't have any priority to push. They don't have the kills. Now Rigor Mortis caught in a bad spot. Flash is here. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out, and the damage is good. And they don't even need to use the Shockwave here. Just needed to use that Ash Arrow to get in there, get the initial pick, and Florgato and Rescued all the way back. Wraith just pushing in a side lane. Not going to be able to get anything. That is another Dragon for the Gamblers. And, you know, Rigor Mortis does have the Herald. They can try and trade something back there, but I think the Gamblers are just looking to try and stack these Dragons. Probably don't want to stretch their lead too thin. So I'd imagine we don't see an immediate Baron spawn, but I imagine they're going to try and use this Dragon to try and get priority on the map, go into a next Dragon fight, fish where they can, and not worry too much. But now they have to be careful. Heiko getting engaged on now, has to be careful. Has to back up behind Seeker. A nice bullet time there to force it off, but Rescue getting run down, and now the TP from CB Batman. And it's going to be a Mundo picking up that second kill now. Wraith has to dodge out, getting a lot of damage down, but the stun from the Braum passive means that Mundo gets a second there, finally finishing up that Heartsteel, all this health stacking, and they just do not have enough ways to kite it out. Valkyries stepping once again. They thought they had the catch. They thought they could get Heiko, but they just don't have the damage to actually finish off any of these picks. Speaking of picks, Rigor Mortis trying to find one, but he might have stepped a little bit too far forward. Looking to drop that Herald and flash forward. It's going to be Florgato picking up a kill, but Asian Jason dodges one right back. and Flash picking up another. Double shutdowns on the Gamblers, and no value coming from that Herald. Now in a very solid lead of almost 6,000 gold, just extending it further and further and further. The Gamblers are pushing this, and they might be looking for its Baron soon.
Yeah, I mean, the only compensation they had there was getting the shutdown off of Heiko. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of a repeat from game one. I think they're looking for these picks, but unfortunately, they're not landing the damage early enough to catch someone out. Always leaving at least one or two with just a little bit of HP left, and it's costing them a lot. This time, though, very differently, Batman really just on his own island. This Ornn is struggling really hard, especially with the kills that this Mundo got a few minutes ago. That Heartsteel was just his second item, and now it already has 112 stacks, and that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think getting all this bonus HP just makes you so much harder to take down because Floragato is not going to be able to do it, right? The Misfortune is not a tank killer, is not going to be able to do this. And Wraith needs very extended fights to actually deal with the Mundo in this game state, so I think it's going to be really difficult to actually deal with it. And I don't know if they have a legitimate way to actually stop the Mundo, especially when you have the backup of this Ashe and Orianna doing so much damage. You have the Engage, you have so much peel from this Braum. I don't actually see a way that they can deal with it at this current state. I think you need Wraith on probably 4 items to actually get through this Mundo, and trying to delay the game that much, I think is going to be extremely difficult when you're already this far behind.
Yeah, as we do see the top island navigating its way to bot this time. Dason really struggling. I don't think he can do much as Batman is whittling down. The only pro is Dason does have teleport in case there is a fight top side.
So be careful. Rigor Mortis engaged on... Tries to use the Crescent Guard to buy himself some time, but there's just not enough. And this is exactly what I was saying, right? You go forward, you don't have the vision. Even if you walk together, you're just at risk of getting death pushed here. Meanwhile, CB Batman just completely shoving in that bot side, getting the tower, completely ignoring Dason because of this, and a really nice charm there, but Wraith is not able to get the damage off. They are finally able to pick up Heiko, and it's going to be a huge shutdown. Floragato picking up another kill onto the rest of the carries, but still losing out on the fight. That will be a massive injection of gold, though, for the Valkyries ADC, so maybe going to be able to get something off that. They just go for the Baron. It's a little bit too far forward, but it is a 3-for-1. They are out with a kill advantage in that fight, but I think all the shutdown gold they gave over is not worth it there.
Yeah, they got bot. The Gamblers did get bot tower, but unfortunately, I think a good combo there. I think that is exactly what you're trying to go for. Wraith and Floragato kind of stacking their ultimates, right? Important to know was Rigor Mortis wasn't in that fight. However, to be on the other side, they did have to expend so many ultimates to get Rigor Mortis, and so not many tools available for that engage from the Valkyries. Now that the cooldowns are back up, for the most part, summoners are also up. It should be easier for the Gamblers to take Baron or Dragon, depending on which one they prefer. But they should have the resources to get both.
Yeah, and you can see the Dragon now coming up in 40 seconds. Gamblers should have full priority on that Dragon, and they just need to make sure that it doesn't get stolen, that they don't sort of get that weird fight turn that they had last time, right? Obviously, if Rescued is able to line up these encores like he's been doing, all of these games can be... Oh, but a very nice Enchanted Crystal Arrow from downtown takes out Wraith, who's still going to have 20 seconds on the death timer by the time that Drake spawns. And I don't think that the Valkyries are going to be able to do it. They have a little bit of priority here, but they're just going to get forced out. Really nice arrow there from Heiko. And you see CB Batman, with that grasp, with that heart skill, just does so much damage. You know, and you think Mundo, you think these double tank items, it doesn't do that much. It does a lot. Going for that Tunneler now as well, probably for the Overlord's Blood Mail. Going to start stacking the AD off that health. Has to be careful, though. They're going to try and catch him out here while giving up the Dragon. Rigor Mortis is up here. They have the damage. CB Batman does not have the Ghost anymore. Does still have the ultimate. Can be able to dodge out on a lot of damage from that bullet time, but just going to get run down by the rest of his team. Rigor Mortis, Dason, all trying to chase in and get something here.
No
Looks
way.
like CB Batman's going to be out.
Wow, being able to survive off that maybe 15% of health left. Didn't even have Ghost, just had to burn the ultimate. and that meant no ultimate on Ornn, which is huge. Wow.
Yeah, really big there.
I think a big part of that too is the fact that this Mundo got, I forget what it's called, the Boots of Swiftness. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's going to sort of mark those slows down. It's going to be very hard. Really nice engage here from Valkyries to try and turn it back, but Gamblers still have positioning. They have to be very careful about that ball. They don't have the Cataclysm or the Shockwave anymore.
Ooh,
and Jason,
good arrow.
stop. They're just going to try and split push with CB Batman, but Heiko getting engaged upon has to be worried here. Rescued with no more Encore means Rigor Mortis is just going to be completely caught out there. Florigato has to be careful. The flash forward from Seeker as well. You can see Jason just trying to back there as they're trying to stop the back, trying to get a little bit more, and Asian Jason going forward, getting one kill, looking for more. CB Batman having the wave cleared off of him means that he won't be able to keep pushing this, but he's going to try anyway. Has an extra wave, but the Wet Noodle tank fight is a little bit too rough down in this bot lane. Has to be careful now. Going for the kills on Dason. They're going for the engages here, but I believe CB Batman should just be able to get himself out. Really nice picks from the entire team there, and the Gamblers should be able to secure this Baron.
Oh man, it's tough. There's no response to Batman, especially now with Baron on his side. The split map is just much harder to deal with. I think, I don't know what you can do on the side of Valkyries. You're down 10, 12k really, at 26 minutes. Your opponent do have Baron, will force it, at least on 2 lanes simultaneously. I don't know. I think the only way to win is to kill the side that Mundo is not in with a good ultimate from both Wraith and Florigato. Stack it like they did in the Dragon Pit, and then respond to the Mundo. Because inactivity or waiting too long, Mundo will just win the game.
Yeah, just has been chilling on that side lane. And you can see now finished with the Titanic Hydra, not the Overlord's Bloodmail, but however, double Tunneler, I'd imagine is going to transition into that pretty shortly. And the Mundo just does so much damage, right? Obviously, just a full HP and health items, and another great arrow from Heiko there to catch Wraith. Once again in this top side, have to be careful. CB Batman just pops the ghost, trying to run this down, and now Dason with Call of Forge God is going to try and find something. A really well-placed bullet time, going to help a lot, but does not cut through CB Batman, or even get him down to half. He's healing so much that he's coming out of the fight with more HP than he started with. And now Asian Jason with Cataclysm onto Florigato, getting run down the teleport there to try and finish off the bot lane towers. Gonna push this in. They want to end the game. They want this to be over. They want to give us our first 2-0 on stream, and it is just rescued against the world now. Not going to be able to do anything, and that is a clean ace there from the Gamblers on the back of CB Batman's amazing Mundo play and some great arrows there from Heiko. Amazing play from the Gamblers across this entire series. They don't even need the soul. They just get the Baron and end the game. Seeker running it into the fountain.
Wow.
Make sure that his stats don't look too good.
Wow. An amazing game from the Gamblers, ending our our game of 3 streak on stream. I think earlier on they were a little behind there. I mean, the Jinja was up 2-0. Jarvan was having a super difficult time ramping up. The tempo was not with him. But fortunately for the Gamblers, they still had outs, and they played it to their advantage, getting picks. This Ashe severely ahead in CS at all points in the game. I don't know. You know, these two teams are at the top of the standings, but it didn't feel like that.
Yeah. And I think the biggest issue here that the Valkyries were facing was a lack of real damage, right? This is why I don't like the Misfortune. Because you're drafting Misfortune into a comp that you already know has a lot of sort of peel and tank potential, right? You know that the Jarvan can go Frozen Heart and jump on top of you. That, you know, has been done before. And you still have 3 picks to get a more frontline, and you're still locking it in. And I think that was really just hard for them to deal with. Wraith playing pretty well, but getting caught by those arrows, who I think it's a lot less of Wraith getting caught and much more of a really well-placed arrow there from Heiko, who has just been playing the series so well. And I think the entire Gamblers roster has just been playing it really well, right? Obviously, a huge shout out to the Seraphine in both games, right? Rescued, I think, was trying really hard in both of those games. I think played very well, and definitely I think best of the worst, right? Like, played very well for how the games were going, but the team comps I just think weren't there. I think it was really at the end of the day, a draft issue. That being said, not to take away from Gambler's win, because they played the series phenomenally.
Yeah, I mean, they drafted well. Not only that, they really played to their draft. I think they understood their assignments really well. They knew how to win out, right? They got Batman ahead and kind of used that to really accelerate the game. I mean, he was just splitting day in, day out, had multiple instances where multiple members from the Valkyries would come and try to gank its Mundo, and he would always survive. I mean, he's 7-0-2, right? Perfect KDA. And so they played that strategy to a T. And so if I were the Valkyries, like, you would have to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out these draft issues. Because if they've been winning, I forget, 4 games at this point.
Yeah, they were 4-1. They were 4-1 before this. Now they're 4-2. And yeah, a lot of their season has been against lower teams, and I think that was the big problem that you were alluding to, right? Is that you're able to win with these drafts because the enemy team doesn't know how to punish. But once you start going against a team that knows how to punish, suddenly it seems like you can't do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Gamblers make quick work on both games. I thought for sure we were going to game 3 after the first couple minutes of the game, but Gamblers definitely turned it around.
Yeah, really great play there, I think, from the Gamblers for solidifying their spot as the best team in the upper division. Dropped a game last week that was a little worrisome to some, thought that was a bit weird, but coming right back out on top, and that's really good play from them.
Yeah. And with that, for the first time in this season, we are going to say goodbye after the second game. Gamblers won a decisive 2-0 against Valkyrie, is now at the top of the leaderboard alone. It's been a pleasure. Again, I'm Manatu Plays. With me is Noctisera, and the production desk is Wookie Monster, and we will see you again next week.